coming.
Finish him. Fatality.
And welcome to the Free Your Geek podcast. I am your host, Jay Free, and with me is my illustrious co-host
in the WandaVision.
And the WandaVision. So for those that are listening to the audio podcast, we are trying to get back into doing a little bit more video. And if you're watching this video on Facebook or YouTube, this is pre-recorded. We are not streaming live. But we wanted to try to get back into a, especially for this episode, I guess, right? We're going to be talking.
Yeah.
So, let's kind of like get right into the crux of things. Disney Plus new series dropped. The first 3 episodes have happened already as of this recording. It is a Disney Plus series in the MCU called WandaVision. And for those watching the video, KB has a filter of a old school, like 1960s television, which is perfect for the background that he has there, because he has one of the promo shots of Wanda and Vision, aptly entitled from the TV series WandaVision. Like, so it's a play on WandaVision. I kind of like that. So we're going to go into some spoilers right now. We're going to be spoiling at least the first 2 episodes, possibly the third, probably the third.
You know what I like, though? Even spoiling the first 2 episodes, I feel like you don't give away all that much.
Well, we still don't. So yeah, we don't even know what's going on as of the 3rd episode. So yeah,
nothing mind blowing.
Right. So KB is in his KB cave, surrounded by his 1960s television set and a promo pic from WandaVision. And I'm here in I don't even know what I can't call it, the J Free cave. I don't know. We're gonna have to come up with something. But yeah, for those that are watching the video, I just have a green screen, which I'm projecting the Free Your Geek logo on. You can see kind of my shelf over to the right. But for people listening to audio, you don't care about any of this. So let's get into the specifics of WandaVision. So KB, off the riff, what are your thoughts? The first 2 episodes, they dropped episodes 1 and 2 a few Fridays ago. We kind of knew from the trailers and whatnot, this was going to be kind of set like almost an old sitcom-y type of thing. What are your thoughts?
I don't think the sitcom-y thing is going to last the whole time, though. I think that's probably only maybe like the first half of the season, the way it's going now, because it seems like they're jumping time periods, and I feel like this was a good way for Disney to get people to watch, people who don't know the characters or maybe aren't even familiar with the movies, like to kind of pick this up and watch it, which is really good. I love the old black and white, like 50s, 60s. It seems like now, kind of around episode 3, I think that's where they like hit the 70s basically. And I love how it jumps, and then it's like they live in like different houses, and like yet the neighbors are still the same. Like it's just very, very TV landish.
Right. So what I was going to say,
right?
For me, it reminds me for anyone that grew up in the 80s or 90s, watched television with their parents, very much a Bewitched type of feel at first, like a Bewitched. Bewitched was the one with the Agnes, the nosy neighbor that was coming in. I Dream of Jeannie, just different like tropes there. I think I Love Lucy, Bewitched, and then as you pointed out, KB, around the 3rd episode, like both the first episodes, first and second, had hints of color.
Yeah,
but it was all black and white. But there was like little things, for lack of a better term, bleeding into this world. And then episode 3 goes into color, I think either halfway through or toward the end. I can't remember now, but it's going to start to feel more like a Brady Bunch type of genre now, or taking issues from that. So my personal feeling, I agree with you. I feel like time is speeding up pretty fast. And I think sooner or later we're going to get into the 90s, and I can't wait for the 90s sitcom, because if they do a spoof of Full House, I am going to lose my mind, because I think it's going to be so meta, with Elizabeth Olsen playing the role of Michelle.
That would be brilliant. But you're skipping over the 80s, dude.
Well, I know, but I'm saying I'm just trying to predict moving forward into the future of where this series is going. So let's talk about the first 2 episodes first. And just the initial, let's start with the initial episode. where we see Wanda and Vision newlyweds.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know necessarily when they got married, what their anniversary date was.
That was the interesting thing in that episode.
Yes, and then of course they have something on the calendar, the shape of a heart for today. And in classic sitcom tropes, Wanda believes it's her anniversary, where Vision finds out later on while he's at work doing something that he doesn't even know what the company does, which is also very interesting. That the heart is actually for Mr. Hart. His boss is coming over for dinner. And again, they kind of like merge that classic sitcom like scenario, the thing that would happen, the boss coming over, big misunderstanding, and they kind of use it with the Marvel characters.
The simplest scenario.
Or
Yeah.
it's a callback, it's a
Yeah.
throwback to the way those sitcoms used to be, and that's something you kind of brought up earlier, KB, when you talk about as far as integrating a new audience and people that might not know too much about it. I'm reading a lot of people online that are not liking the series because they want it to be more Marvel. Where to
Mm.
me, this is like a great palate cleanser to go. I mean, we had
Mhm.
Endgame, we had Spider-Man Far From
So much of
Home.
the same.
We're waiting.
Yeah.
We're waiting on Black Widow. We know that's going to be action packed, but we know this is all setting up for Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
This is setting up for the next Doctor Strange movie. So for this, feels like it's almost like a not a lull per se, but like a nice little break from the
In the norm.
crazy action packed
Mhm.
scenes where this is more like almost psychological in a way
Yeah.
because something's going on. We don't know what yet. We've been 3 episodes in, and this is I'm going to kind of bring it back to that episode. So Mr. Hart comes over for dinner, and his wife, played by the mother, I can't think of the actress's name. I want to say it's
Joanna Rep or
yeah, it's her last name is Rupp. She played the mother on
yeah.
that 70s show. And for those that are watching um on the video and not listening to the podcast, I'm actually going to look it up right now. But I thought it was so funny that
She is awesome.
well, yeah, but I mean, it's Deborah Jo Rupp.
Deborah Jo Rupp. That's
Yeah,
what
and
I
I just love
was
the
close.
fact that she actually played like a mother in the 60s as opposed to a mother in the
Yeah.
70s. It was just kind of like old hat. And it was just but she was the wife, the housewife coming over for Mr. Hart. And what I loved about that episode is that Mr. Hart starts choking. And Mrs. Hart, for lack of a better term, I don't know what her name was, but she's telling her husband, she goes, stop it. Almost like it's funny, like he's choking. But
Mhm.
then it starts getting a little bit more fanatical, and she's looking at Wanda while she's saying, stop it. So is Wanda controlling what's happening in this world? What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
It's hard to say. I don't. I think to some degree, I think somebody's messing with her powers maybe a little bit, or she's in some kind of mind dungeon, or like we said, that like the Doctor Strange movie is kind of sounding is this dive into some kind of insanity kind of thing. So that's what I think. And what was interesting, and I didn't know if you were going to tell on this or talk about this, but when you mentioned the black and white scenes in it's mostly black and white in the first two
Yeah, and
episodes,
the color starts bleeding in.
and one of the times the color bleeded in was there was a helicopter that crashed, a toy helicopter that crashed into the bushes. And when when Scarlet Witch goes out to look at it, it's a helicopter and it's fine, but it has a little logo of Sword on it.
Right.
And that was like my first clue of like, okay, Sword is somehow involved in this.
So what I think it is I don't think it's a prison in her mind. I think it's very much like I don't know if you ever watched the Truman Show with Jim
Hmm.
Carrey, the movie.
Yeah,
Because
something like that.
we'll fast forward a little bit in episode 3. Wanda actually casts out what's her name, Geraldine, I think it is, the neighbor
Yep.
that when things start falling apart, we see her fly
No,
through.
we weren't talking about episode 3.
I said spoilers. We're gonna go through, but
Okay.
I'm saying we see that it's very much almost like a virtual wall she gets thrown through, like a holographic wall. So I'm almost
Yeah,
wondering if it's like a world that they created this dome and they're keeping her safe in there. I don't know. But
maybe.
then there's other questions that arise. Is if that's another world, is that actually the Vision? Did they bring Vision back to life,
Was
or
it
is
just her head?
yeah, or is it a figment of her imagination?
And that's only time will tell. I
Right.
mean,
I don't know. I
there's
think it's going to
nothing.
be so. I want to touch upon a couple other things I really like about the series.
Yep.
I love the old school commercials they've put in for the first couple of them. The toaster by Stark Industries, which I guess is, and there's tons of Easter eggs. We're not going to go in. Like I won't go too in depth. KB, if you want to, you
No,
can.
no, but there's a Hydra one. I forget what it was. It
Well,
was
I
pretty
mean, no,
funny.
but the first one is the toaster by Stark Industries, and
Yep.
everybody said that Vision kind of looks like a toaster. And if you look at the toaster, it kind of looks a little bit like the Vision with the eyes and the mouth and whatnot.
Probably meant to look more like the Iron Man mask, wasn't it?
Possibly. Yeah, they had what was the other one? A Von Strucker watch for Baron
Yep.
von Strucker in the second episode. And the second episode is probably my favorite of the three so far,
Yep.
just because we get to see Paul Bettany do like so many comedic things. He's trying to
He's
play human
too good.
and he swallows a stick of gum
Yep.
and it turns into a cartoon, like it actually gunks up his
So
system,
funny.
gives up, and he's playing drunk and it's so good. So good.
Yeah,
And
and that's something, that's a side of him that we've never gotten to see that side of his acting in any of these movies. So
right.
it's nice to see the versatility that he has, because he was legitimately funny. I could see him being on a sitcom.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying. He plays that very well for what they're trying to accomplish. I think moving to the
Oh,
future,
could you
that
imagine him as a can you imagine him as a Danny Tanner type character in a Full House
oh,
segment?
I absolutely.
Be
Or
funny.
I swear to God, if they keep moving forward, so we'll talk about episode 2 and episode 3 a little bit. But I have to say that I absolutely, if they do go that route where they go to the future and they do 80s and they do the 90s, if there's not a "you got it, dude" at some point in time within that, that's going to be the greatest thing. Or "how rude," something from
Something,
Full House.
yeah, something that, yeah,
Cut it
one of those
out,
taglines.
cut tons of different things they could do.
You were a
I
Full House fan, weren't you?
I was a huge, well, that's dude, that's key demographic growing up. That's like perfect for me. I was in love with Stephanie Tanner, not Michelle Tanner, though. I think, but again, I think you're right. 80s and 90s. I wonder what they're gonna do. If they're gonna do like a Punky Brewster type of thing, or
Mhm.
maybe the Facts of Life, or
Different Strokes.
Different Strokes, or what's the one with Kirk Cameron, Growing Pains. I wonder if they're gonna do any of those types of sitcoms or tropes. It's gonna be interesting to see where they go. But you're right. I
Jefferson.
don't.
It could do the Jeffersons.
They could. They're moving on up. But I think still I think they're already past that time. Maybe I'm wrong, but I agree with you. I don't think it's going to go all the way through. I think
No.
something's going to drop in the last couple episodes. But yeah, going into episode 2, so they do a talent show, and just watching the Wanda and the Vision interaction where he's kind of all out of sorts and she's trying to cover it up. So we have that neighbor. I can't think of the neighbor's name off the top of my head, but she's played by Catherine Hahn, who is hilarious. I loved her in Parks and Recreation. I loved her in Step Brothers. She was great in a lot of different movies. She's comedically, she's fantastic. And she plays like the neighbor that kind of is like the girlfriend, of Wanda, like the best friend, the neighborly person. But we see in episode 3, her and her husband both think that they know something's up.
Hmm.
They know, so it's almost like, again, this is why I'm thinking more along the lines of the Truman Show, that everybody that they interact with are in and they know who Wanda is, and they're just playing along because they're taking part. Maybe they're all sword agents. Maybe I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I was thinking that at first, but then there was kind of some warnings in episode 3, kind of, and it just did. That's when I kind of thought maybe there's more people trapped in whatever this is.
Could be, could
You
very
know,
well be.
um, it just seems like, yes, there's definitely sword agents in there, and I got that feeling in that second episode when all the neighborhood wives have their little meeting about the talent show.
Yep.
And I kind of got that feeling, as there was like the one wife, I can't remember her name, but she was like the leader of the group.
Oh, it's so you've watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I've watched most of it, yeah.
That's Anya. That's
Oh,
Emma Caulfield, who
okay.
played Anya on Buffy. So she plays like, yeah, the Stepford wife or whatever you want to call her, like this
Mm,
perfect,
yeah.
wife, the
Everybody
organizer of.
agrees with her.
And then again, this is I'll say this, episode 2. What kind of I'm actually trying to look up the something from Ant-Man and the Wasp right now because I wanted to get the cast here. But um yeah, I think the little mantra they were saying when they were putting together that fundraiser for the children,
Mhm.
the fact that I think that's what subconsciously made Wanda create her pregnancy, because she's
Yeah.
pregnant in the end of episode 2, and she grows and the baby grows rather fast. It's pretty much being delivered by the end of
Pretty good.
episode
Pretty
3.
funny.
So so I want to say, because I was looking up Ant-Man and the Wasp, Jimmy Randall Park is going to be in WandaVision, as well as Darcy from Thor,
Okay.
and I believe is it Monica Rambeau from Captain Marvel.
Hmm.
They're all going to be part of this. So I'm
Interesting.
wondering, to your point, if they're in on it or there's more people trapped. uh Randall Park played Special Agent Jimmy Woo, who was after Ant-Man,
Yep.
and he's obviously an authority figure, special forces, whatever you want to call it, while Darcy is more of a scientist, a
Hmm.
physics. So I'm wondering if they're all going to play parts where they know what's going on, but they are kind of like trying to fix whatever the issue is with Wanda. But then at the same time,
Now that's interesting. Captain Marvel movie. I remember saying it that they're probably going to do something with this Monica Rambeau character.
right? Because, well, which one was Monica's the daughter, right?
Yes,
Yeah, so it's the daughter because now she'd be grown up at this point.
exactly.
No, I think it's going to be very, very. I'm curious to see where they go. Two other points I want to make. One, I'm going to ask you because I know you're more well read in the comics. But what this reminded me of from the comics side of the house is she had twins.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you ever read, did you ever read Avengers Disassembled?
No, I have not. It's on my
So,
list.
I'll give you spoiler alert.
It's on
Uh,
my list, but it's
no,
okay.
no, I'm saying for the listeners and the viewers that are watching this,
Okay.
spoiler alert. Basically, yeah, it goes to the fact that Wanda realizes the kids that she had with, I believe it was with Vision, if I'm not mistaken, were actually never real, and she conjured it up them herself, and she goes crazy and she like kills like a good number of Avengers. She kills Vision, she kills Hawkeye, she kills like 4 or 5 other Avengers while she snaps, and then she gets taken by Magneto, and that's what leads into House of M,
Mm.
because he manipulates her to bring back, or after she says no more mutants, like that's what creates the whole House of M type of
Hmm.
storyline. So I'm wondering if they're going to be doing something similar. Is that the way they're going to bring mutants into the fold?
That's that. I think everybody's been asking that question. Any Marvel fan has been asking that question: is how do they bring them into the fold? And that's a good possibility. What a good way to lead with Magneto.
Or right, because that's her father. Or maybe the fact is, we talked
But
about,
but it wasn't technically her father, right? In Ultron.
they were just the twins. I don't think we know who their family was. I think it was just their mother. I don't think that, if I recall correctly.
I don't remember. I'd have to go back
But
and look
so
at that.
that leads to some other speculation that the Mind Stone, which quote unquote gave them their powers, maybe only unlocked it. Maybe they already had it within their genetics, and it
Mhm.
unlocked their powers. So there's other mutants that already exist, but there's a whole lot of a bunch of questions. I don't know what's going to happen. I just think that harkening back to Avengers Disassembled, I think that's the route we're going. I don't know. But I also want to point out to you, because I believe you mentioned it. I don't remember the episode of the podcast, but years ago you mentioned the Vision solo comic where he had his own family.
Mhm.
Do you see them taking any like kind of like a take from that storyline, or any homages to that, or is that pretty much
Well, Scarlet Witch is only kind of a fantasy in that comic as a whole. Like he builds a family, so I don't know if they would go that route. Um,
what if it's a juxtaposition though, instead of Vision being real and Wanda being the fantasy? What if it's the other way around?
it could be, it could be, and but the Vision's kids were built by him, and they're Viv Vision is actually still going as a separate character in the Champions comic right now. So um, I don't know if they'd want to introduce her or not. I don't know what their plans are, because she'd be rolling with like Miss Marvel and Miles Morales and
Right.
those kind of people.
But I'm just saying, I'm not even saying that they're going to take the plot line, but I'm saying, are they taking like, again, same thing, like Avengers Disassembled, she discovers that the twins that she had
Mhm.
were not real. Well, guess what? The end of episode 3, again, spoiler alert, she has twins.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
I'm
anything's
wondering,
possible.
not necessarily that they'll go down that storyline, but they're taking pieces from that
Yeah,
storyline and
tho-
incorporating it.
those twins could come out synthezoid for all you know.
Right. Or it could be like the 2 young Avengers that she has, because Billy and I can't
Yeah.
remember the other one's name, but they're her kids in the Young Avengers. She willed them into existence. I don't know. There's a whole lot of speculation out there, but I absolutely disagree with the people that are naysaying and saying it's boring and whatnot. Again, you need to, the story's not over. It's a 9-episode arc, I believe.
Mhm.
We just finished episode 3. We don't know, for no pun intended, what the end game is for the series. So again, I don't know if it's necessarily going to go that whole route of sitcom trope. I think probably maybe by episode 6 or 7 it'll actually get dropped, because Paul Bettany did say, I don't know if you heard this, and I don't know if he was just being facetious or if he was telling the truth, but he says one episode of WandaVision has a bigger CGI battle than Endgame, which, if that's true,
That's
it's
crazy.
flipping insane, because that was a huge battle in Endgame. So I'm curious to see.
Disney's telling you to be patient.
Right, right.
That's what they're telling you to do. Pay attention to the story, pick up on the clues, and follow it from there. And you have an interesting plot line. You just have to see it. And I think there's a lot of people that don't see it because they're so blind to the fact that everything has to be to the comics, or everything has to be to the MCU exactly as they see it. And like, just like we talked about with the Avengers video game, same thing, right? People like, oh, it's not good because it doesn't look like but it's not like,
It's its own take on it.
yeah. And this is kind of, I don't want to say it's its own take because it's in the MCU, but it's just a different thing that we're
It's a
not
different
used to.
style.
Yeah. So what? It's wrong. It's
Well,
bad because
it's
you're
like
not
I
used to
look
it.
at anything else.
Yeah.
We talk
Yep.
about like Iron Man and Thor, Captain America movies. They're all pretty much action movies, straightforward, right?
Yeah.
So we can say that Winter Soldier was a little bit more of a spy thriller. Civil War was just an all-out battle, and then the Avengers movies are like huge battle popcorn storylines, which are great. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but then you have like Ant-Man, and which is more of a heist film, just happens to
Mhm.
have superpowers in it. Doctor Strange is a little bit more mystical and a little bit more like Inception, or something along those lines.
Captain Marvel bringing them into space.
Right,
Finally
Guardians of the
bringing them
Galaxy.
into
It's more of a
yeah.
space
Yeah,
opera.
Guardians of the Galaxy too. Yep.
Yeah, space opera. You know what I mean? So it's not. Yes, there's a lot of action, but it's a different kind of voice for each type of character.
Yeah.
This, if again, we don't know where Wanda is. Is she being held prisoner? Because we heard at the end of episode 2, Wanda, who's doing this to you, Wanda? Who's doing this to you,
Yeah.
Wanda?
And then the other thing is, are these same people not going to be happy with Hawkeye because it's probably going to be more of a detective kind of thing, or more of a grounded kind of thing? Like,
Right. I
eh,
think I think it's going to be there's going to be Hawkeye. So my point was, we have all these other movies, so we have different feels and different voices on the big screen. We're going to get the same thing, to your point, KB, on the small screen on Disney Plus. WandaVision's going to be its own thing. Hawkeye, like you said, if it's more detective and grounded in reality, that's great. We talked about Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to be probably the straight up action one.
yeah,
And
I see that being the action packed
and
one.
Loki's going to probably be like all these multiverses, or he's going to, fix the timelines. It's going to be totally out there. It's going to be totally
Yeah.
different. It might have a lot of action, but it's going to be unique. And then that actually is a great segue, KB, unless you have anything else to add to
No,
WandaVision.
no, no,
That's a
no.
great segue. I don't know if you saw the previews for What If, the animated series.
A little bit. I didn't
So the one that
see a
they
lot.
played that hooked me, it was a couple of weeks ago, and I believe it was Chadwick Boseman's last performance as T'Challa. They're going to be doing the
They're
storyline.
animated, right?
It's animated. what if Yondu picked up T'Challa instead of Peter Quill?
Hmm.
And it's going to be a T'Challa-led Guardians of the Galaxy.
And Peter Quill would be the Black Panther.
Well, no, it's just going to be Peter Quill just grew up with his mother. Like T'Challa was the one that was taken into space, worked with the Ravagers, and then formed his own team with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that'd be kind of cool. I'm very stoked for that. Very, very stoked for that. So
Definitely.
any final
What else?
words on Disney Plus? Because I have some breaking news for you, KB.
You have breaking news for me?
I do.
Truly breaking?
Sure. Well, it just got announced this morning, so I don't know if you
Okay.
heard about it yet.
Sure, shoot.
Okay, so let's leave the realm of the MCU behind. Let's go from superheroes to sports entertainment.
Oh.
KB, do you know about the Peacock network by NBC?
Yes, I do.
So I believe it's if you're a Comcast customer, you get it for free. If you want it with ads, it's $4.99. If you want it ad free, it's $9.99. Well, it was just announced this morning that NBC Universal is taking over the WWE Network. As of
Really?
March, the WWE Network, I believe, will be shut down and will get rolled into Peacock.
Mm.
So for $9.99, if you're still paying for the WWE Network, you'll get all the network stuff like you normally would, but then you'll
Plus,
have access to all the NBC shows such as Parks and Rec, The Office.
is that the same thing for the pay-per-views though?
Yes. So all the pay-per-views are now going to be on Peacock.
That sounds a lot better than the ESPN deal.
Well, so I guess I forget what channel it was, but one of the NBC sports channels are getting shut down. So because USA, which is an affiliate of NBC, is going to start possibly airing some other stuff. So from what I read this morning, and this is what the speculation is, if it's true, over the next 5 years, WWE will earn $1 billion with a B dollars from this deal by moving their network over to Peacock.
That's crazy.
That's insane. That is insane. So if you're watching the video of this, we're recording this on Monday, January 25th. I had to look at the date. And if you're listening to this on audio, well, that's when we recorded it as well. But we're going to be dropping the video a couple days later. So it's not going to be as much breaking news once the video drops. But I wanted to put that out there. I wanted to just get your thoughts.
Do we have to do anything? Those of us who are subscribed, or
because they just announced this morning, I don't know. I think they're going to be working on moving everybody over, but I believe, I think the timing of it is very much an interesting take because it's happening. The switch, I believe, is going to happen in March, and WrestleMania falls in April.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they're trying to get everybody over to Peacock to bolster the subscription numbers on Peacock, and then airing WrestleMania to get greater penetration, to get not only people that are watching Peacock for The Office, because The Office was taken off Netflix rather, as was Parks and Rec. So now the only place you can watch full episodes of The Office with deleted scenes and unedited, not cut for time episodes, it's going to all be on Peacock. You add the WWE into this, and as a Comcast subscriber, you get it for free. I mean, granted, you have to probably deal with ads because I think the free one is the $4.99 tier. But if you're already paying $9.99 for the network, and you're getting, Peacock for free through Comcast, or you're paying the $4.99 version, up that to $9.99, your network subscription will be canceled, and you'll be saving more money and getting more content. How about that? And that's why I'm wearing my Captain Charisma, Christian.
Even if you're paying the full $10 separate, you're still getting more content.
Right. Well, I just love it for the Office and Parks and Rec. Like Parks and Rec is one of my favorite comedies. I think it's great. I think the writing is smart, and I already subscribed to the network anyway, so why not get a 2-for-1?
It's the way to go.
That's it. So I knew you're kind of getting back into the wrestling scene, but I read that this morning, and I wanted to bring that.
I've been back in the wrestling scene for a while.
Well, you know what I mean.
I just have a lot to catch up on old matches and like famous matches that I want to see. You know what I mean? Things that I've heard, but
yeah. So, well, what's if you were to, what's your go-to now? What's your favorite storyline as of since you've been back in, or some of your favorite wrestlers? Let's talk about that real quick.
Bailey. Absolutely love Bailey. And the thing that's interesting about Bailey is that for me, I never really knew her as a face. You know what I mean? I never really knew her as a baby face because I got back into it around the Survivor Series where she kind of started to turn. And, she's just such a great heel. Really fantastic. And Drew McIntyre's story, I mean, how can you not like that story? Um, I'm also big on Io Shirai. I think she's just amazing. Stories right now, as far as the stories go, the Alexa Bliss, Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton thing, it's I don't know. It's a little too much for me, I think. It's a little strange
What
to
about what
it,
about me? I'm at the head of this table. What do
I
you
can't stand Roman Reigns.
I love him. He's so good. I mean, he's a bad guy, so you're supposed to hate him. But I mean, I love it. It's kind of like when you like a bad guy so much for what they do. It's like, again, Loki. Like, I hate Loki, but I love him because he's so entertaining. Roman
Well, that's
Reigns,
that,
the same
that's me
thing.
with Bailey. That's how I feel about Bailey. I think she's
That's how
entertaining.
I feel about the great liberator, Sami Zayn.
See,
Probably
I
next to
can't
Roman
stand
Reigns.
anything,
He's
but
my favorite character.
but the fact that I can't stand these guys, Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns, says that they're doing a good job
Right.
because that's like you said, that's the point. It's like used to be Chris Chelios used to be a hockey player,
Yep.
and he always said he played in the league for like 30 years. He said, I always loved playing away because when I heard the boos, I knew I was doing my job.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. And the heels have to that's interesting. Think about it, to be a heel, because when we always think about motivation, right? We think it comes from a positive response.
Yep.
But like with a heel, you want to hear the negative response because that's positive to you, you
Right.
know?
Right. Well,
So
that's the thing. Like, yeah, exactly. So it's even when I used to go to shows, even if it's like I like what somebody's doing, if I respect that performer enough and they're a heel,
exactly.
aka a bad guy, I will boo them because that's what they mean they're doing their job, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I like I said, the Roman Reigns storyline and the head of the table thing, like I don't know. It's just
So good. He's the best and
not my
most
thing.
interesting he's been in his entire career. If
Well,
this
I think Paul Heyman coming along kind of.
Paul Heyman's doing nothing. I love Paul Heyman, don't get me wrong. But like he's adding his piece to it. But Roman, just like his cadence and his interview style and everything he's doing is
Yeah. His
so
promos.
good.
Yeah.
It feels so natural for him. He's like his cadence, his inflection, his tone, all of it
Mhm.
just feels so natural.
Well, just this past, was it this week or the week? No, I think it's the week before on SmackDown with the whole contract signing, and
Yeah.
he was supposed to fight. Was it Adam Pierce? And I was just like, when that changeover happened, when he was like, "Oh, card subject to change," blah blah blah, and KO comes out and signs the contract, and I love the look on Roman's face. He sells it so well.
Yeah, he's great. He's doing
That nuance. It's those nuances that he just,
he
like I
always
said,
gives 100%, but I think he's doing the best work that he's ever done. And I think a lot of it is because it's a lot more natural and it's more authentic for him. You know what I mean?
to be the heel. Has he ever been a heel before?
Well, when they were in the Shield initially, the Shield came in as a heel group, but he didn't get a chance to like not as a single star. That's the
Yeah.
thing. They pushed him again. I don't want to go on a whole soapbox rant here, but WWE for the longest time was trying to make their own it guy. It was John Cena for a while. Well, going back to the 80s and early 90s was Hogan, and then
Warrior.
Hart, Shawn Michaels, the Ultimate
Mhm.
Warrior, and then it was Austin blew up, The Rock blew up, and ever since The Rock left, John Cena has been kind of their mainstream star.
Yeah.
But it's just like now that Cena was on, they're always trying to make this one guy where if you look at the most successful time, I mean, the rock and wrestling era back in the 80s and early 90s with the boom with Hogan was great. Don't get me wrong. Hogan was
Yeah.
leading the charge. But then you look at the Attitude Era, you had
Yeah.
Austin, you had The Rock, you had The Undertaker, you
Triple
had
H.
Kane, Triple H, Mankind.
Yeah.
There were so many people at the top that you could interchange main eventer by main eventer. And since then,
they don't seem to have that now.
No, it's Roman. You know, it was for the longest time, it was Roman Reigns. Now it's like, listen, now you can still have your big bad, if you will. If we talk about, any type of television show, movie,
Yeah.
you have your main villain. You can still have your big bad, but then you can interchange the different people that are going to fight him. And that's the thing. You can keep a couple of the other guys toward the top of the card. Right now, Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan, Big E, all those guys on SmackDown are kind of like on the cusp of the top baby face, the good guy.
Yeah.
And then on Raw, you have Drew McIntyre, Keith Lee, maybe Bray Wyatt, depending on if you consider him a heel.
You always have Randy Orton as the heel.
Randy Orton. You have Randy Orton. You have I don't even know who you really have for heels on Raw besides Orton. Maybe
the Hurt Business.
The Hurt Business, Elias.
I like them as heels, though.
AJ Styles. No, they're all great. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying you can interchange all of them with the main title scene, and I think you can draw money. But again, right now it's COVID times. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted to point that out. That's all I have for this week. KB, do you have anything?
Not really, unless you want to still talk wrestling.
I think we could do a future show on that. I think I don't want to go because I think we need a little bit more of a format. And I don't want to step on the guys' toes from Bottom Line Wrestling Cast. Check them out where they do a career retrospective of Stone Cold Steve Austin. So
their own Broken Skull session.
Yeah, no, it's great. They're using the network to its fullest. I'm curious to hear what those guys think about.
I love the Broken Skull sessions. Have you?
Oh yeah.
Really?
The documentaries and the originals they have on the network are great.
Yeah, definitely got to check them out. Even the old ones, like I watched an Andre the Giant one, and it was like just so interesting and so entertaining to hear about something I missed in life.
Right.
So there's a Pat Patterson one on. I think they.
I got to check that one out.
Yeah, I checked that one out too, and I watched the Jerry. I can't speak the Jerry Lawler.
The King.
Jerry Lawler.
Lawler.
Okay. Yes. I can never say his name right. Like that. I watched that Broken Skull sessions, and I didn't know the history that he had. Like, I only knew him in the 90s. You know what I mean? I know him back, like, when he started, and like.
Oh, him and Andy Kaufman too, back in the 80s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was that.
Was it 80s or 70s? I can't remember, but that was like a huge thing.
Oh, it was hilarious. 70s probably. I think
YouTube Jerry Lawler, Andy Kaufman, David Letterman.
Oh,
so good.
So good.
But all right. Well,
I don't think of them that way.
Yeah. No, it's good. Definitely good. So yeah, we'll come back. We're gonna try this video thing out, see how it translates, and then next week or the week after, or the week after that, we'll probably, if this works out, maybe we'll do more video. And but until next time, KB, we're gonna try this. So for those watching the video, while KB was talking wrestling, I was doing some setup in the background. I was trying to get some sound set up. So let's see how this works. KB, hit him with the catchphrase.
Get your geek on.
Bye, everybody.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.